What's the best thing about being a Sky News presenter?
We've done the work and the reading, so you don't have to.
Being a Sky News presenter.
Hello and welcome. Westminster, the heart of British politics.
I'm so sorry about what happened to you.
So what on earth is going on?
It's not true.
Can I tell you what I think? It's really unusual. Mornings with Rich and Frost.
Let's crack on. Let's get started. You are watching the press preview. First look at what's on the front pages as they arrive. It's time to see what's making the headlines with the Deputy Editor of Conservative Home, Henry Hill, and the New Statesman's Associate Political Editor, Rachel Cunliffe. They'll be with us from now until just before midnight. So let's see what's on some of those front pages. There's only one story. It's the defection of Robert Jenrick from the Tories to Reform that dominates all of tonight's front pages. The Guardian describes his fiery attack on his old party. The FT says it's the most high-profile defection to Reform yet, but reports that Kemi Badenoch has won praise for her handling of it. The Telegraph reports on Jenrick's attack on his former party, calling them rotten, dishonest and no longer fit for purpose. The Express also quotes Jenrick's attack on the Conservatives. The Times quotes sources in the Conservative Party saying that they'd been monitoring Jenrick for months and had known about secret meetings with Farage. The Mail pleads with the two feuding parties to stop fighting each other and end the Labour nightmare. The Metro compares today's Westminster soap opera to TV's The Traitors. Another reference to the hit show in The Sun, Trey Tories, reads their headline. And The Eye calls it a day of Tory failures. We're joined tonight by Henry Hill and Rachel Cunliffe. Welcome to both of you. Just
Hello.
one story tonight, but it was intriguing, wasn't it, Rachel?
It was a great story. OK, so first what happened is Kemi Badenoch just fires off a post on X where she announces that she's sacking Robert Jenrick from the Shadow Cabinet and actually suspending him from the Conservative Party because she's found this evidence. And it came with this is not the most important part of the story at all, but it came with this video that she'd shot like on her own webcam, like not a nicely produced one, with the blurred background.
Well, that suggests the haste, doesn't it?
It suggests the haste, but in our office, given some of the other stories this week, we all suddenly went, hang on, are we sure this is real? Are we sure it's not like deep fake AI? But no, it was real. And Nigel Farage was immediately contacted and said, you know, nothing about this. Like Robert Jenrick wasn't going to defect at this press conference at 4:30 this afternoon. And then the press conference came round at 4:30 the afternoon, and he did defect, although having been very much ousted. So it kind of started off with actually quite ruthless, decisive action from Kemi Badenoch to try and get ahead and reclaim the narrative, has ended up in a position where Robert Jenrick gave this really quite extraordinary speech trashing the party that he's been a member of since he was 16 and that he was a member of until 11 o'clock this morning, including some really scathing words about former colleagues. And yeah, Reform are now up to 6 MPs and the Conservatives down to, I think, 117 at my 119 at my count.
I think so, 18 or 19.
Yes, going to the expert there.
Henry, what did you think of the speech from Jenrick? I mean, he took a while to come forward, didn't he? Which was, you know, when everybody was thinking, has he defected or hasn't he? What's going on? But when he did, he really did put the boot in.
Well, I mean, I think one of the things originally that made it seem likely that he was going to defect, sorry, is that he wasn't saying anything. Because if it wasn't true, this is Robert Jenrick. He loves the media. Yes. He's very aggressive. You'd have expected him to be there being like, I challenge Kemi Badenoch to publish the evidence, and none of that was happening. So we're like, okay.
Doing a quick TikTok, yeah.
I think it's an unfortunate fact about, I mean, British politics in general, but the Conservative Party in particular, that there is essentially a binary where either you're inside the Conservative Party in the Shadow Cabinet, in which case, in order to maintain unity, you can't really do anything to interrogate your failures in office because it would risk embarrassing colleagues. Or then you leave the party and you just turn everything up to 11 and launch this vitriolic broadside, which does leave people wondering, well, you were a member of this party 24 hours ago and you were running to lead it, you know, just over a year ago.
Although he was saying that, in his defence, that he was trying to say within the Conservative Party that Britain is broken, and either they didn't agree and said it isn't broken, or it is broken, but we're not going to say that it is.
I mean, I think...
Because we broke it.
Yes.
Well, no, I don't even know if that implies, I think, a level of coherence that's maybe above what's actually going on, which is simply the fact that the Conservative Party doesn't agree. The Parliamentary Conservative Party simply does not agree on anything important. It doesn't agree on what went wrong in the period in which he was in office. You know, was it a failure to promise to cut immigration to the tens of thousands or not to do it, right? That's two different wings of the party believe completely different things. And therefore, because Kemi Badenoch ran on unity and didn't get a mandate from her leadership victory for any particular policy change, she's imprisoned by this need for unity and the fact that her shadow cabinet consists of people, many of whom were secretaries of state in the last government. And so it makes it very difficult. And I can believe that Robert Jenrick was saying, look, we need to be more ruthless about interrogating our record, and that wasn't getting anywhere. I'm still nonetheless surprised he jumped ship, if only because... Yeah, if only because the one thing that you know for sure about Nigel Farage, if you read his biographies and look at the history, is that none of his parties have any room for anyone who takes the spotlight from him for 5 minutes. And Robert Jenrick is good at the spotlight. He's not as good as Nigel Farage, but he is good at the spotlight. And now Nigel Farage has got this person who has built his profile by pushing the boundaries of his brief, constantly getting media attention. How is that going to go? I don't know.
Although Nigel Farage today sort of gave a little warning, you could say, when he said that, you know, those that go against him tend not to do very well.
Well, yeah, exactly. right. I mean, this is, but therefore, Reform doesn't have any policies, because that would restrict Nigel's ability to decide whatever policy he wanted to make that Reform policy. I think this is actually one of the big challenges that Reform has in attracting defectors, not just in parliamentary terms, but in general, is the fact that it doesn't stand for anything in particular except for Nigel Farage's undoubted attributes as a campaigner.
Rachel, the Eye, just to go back to the Eye, they're majoring on the fact that the UK's right-wing feud deepens, that the divide is wider now.
Well, there are two ways of looking at it. You know, one is that this is some blue on blue, you know, dark blue and turquoise action. The other way of looking at it is that the defection of Jenrick, who really was the standard bearer within the Conservative Party for a particular direction that he wanted to take it in, that now makes Reform the dominant force on the right. And it's part of this thing that we're seeing, saw it towards the end of last year, definitely seeing it in the run-up to the May local and regional devolved elections, is this idea of fragmentation into blocks. There's the right-wing anti-immigration bloc that's the Conservatives and Reform, and there's the left-wing-ish, more progressive bloc that's Labour, the Greens, the Lib Dems, some of the national parties. And these elections are kind of going to be won not on people switching between the blocs, but on which party can cement their dominance within their respective blocs. And seen in that context, it's a win for Reform to be able to say we've got one of the highest status sitting MP Tory, so not somebody who lost their seat in the last election, not someone who didn't stand, someone who's a sitting Tory MP who very nearly became Tory leader. That sends a message about where the momentum is on the right-wing bloc.
And Farage saying roll up, but all defectors come this way before the May elections. The sale will be closed after that date.
Yeah, I think that Reform actually needs to be a bit careful about the Tory defections thing, because Robert Jenrick is indisputably a defection that they should be very pleased to have, for all of the reasons that Rachel just said. But, you know, previously, they've mostly been offering up ex-Tory MPs who don't think they can get back into the House of Commons as a Conservative. And it has turned Nigel Farage's offer into this very strange sort of, the Tories are terrible and you cannot trust them and they'll never fix anything again. And if you don't believe me, ask any of the Conservative Secretaries of State that I'm proud to have in my party. Which is just a slightly odd pitch. And if you look at it electorally, Reform came second in 98 seats in the 2024 election. 89 of those are held by Labour. Labour are also in office making lots of unpopular decisions. So Reform's best shot at maximising its seat total is actually aiming at Labour. Right, aiming for people who endorsed Labour at the last election and then would switch, and some Tory switchers, but I think there's less blood to be squeezed from that particular stone. And so the more that they lean into this sugar rush of embarrassing Kemi Badenoch, winning a couple of media rounds, it does risk trading strategically against their ability to actually say, we are a new force in British politics, if they are full of the same old faces.
Although Farage was saying today that he's promising a Labour defector next week.
Yeah, he said a familiar name, I think. So I guess we'll see who it is, and we'll see their relative
Kate
status.
Hoey, I mean...
Well, that's the name that's been floated around to me as well. But she left the Labour Party in 2019. So would you still call her a Labour figure? I don't know. Discuss.
It also depends on how rigorous you think Nigel Farage is being with his terminology.
There is that.
The Telegraph, Jenrick, Tories broke Britain, just more on his scathing speech that he made. And I do wonder, because it was quite personal, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He did call out previous colleagues, the names of previous colleagues. How is he going to pass them in the corridors of power? I mean, how does that work the following day if you bump into these people?
Oh, it's going to be really awkward. It objectively is going to be really awkward. It's Mel Stride and Priti Patel that he went after in particular. Priti Patel for writing the post-Brexit points-based immigration system that was responsible for the quote-unquote Boris wave of migrants after 2019, and Mel Stride for presiding over welfare, both of whom, incidentally, also ran in the Tory leadership contest that he ended up coming second in. And I think it's interesting that immediately after his defection, a lot of the Conservative MPs who backed him for the leadership were out and about saying that they weren't going to defect, that they were loyal to the party, because I think a different way that this could have run if Kemi Badenoch hadn't, I don't know, found his speech in the printer or whatever it was that she found and got out ahead of it. You can see a situation where Jenrick decides to defect and takes people with him in a kind of planned exodus, and the chaotic nature of this and having to scramble it together. And with Jenrick having been sacked first before he got the chance to quit, means that perhaps that parade of fellow Tory MPs won't be forthcoming. But we'll have to see who follows him.
We shall have to see, indeed. The intrigue continues. We didn't even get to the traitor headlines. Perhaps we will in the next half of the moment. Rachel and Henry, thank you very much. Coming up, we'll be discussing this on the front of tomorrow's Financial Times about the situation in Iran. Do stay with us.
Big stories don't always come from big cities. I'm Lisa Dowd and I'm Sky's Midlands correspondent.
You are not getting in this elevator, okay?
The judge made it very clear that she could see no justifiable reason why Sakulas wasn't here facing British justice.
I promised I would get him justice.
Free, wherever you get your news. This is what they're up against. The wind is the really big problem. It is back-breaking work and the smoke is thick. It's been working well. Water levels are dropping, but no one knows what impact further rain will have. What would you do if this place wasn't open? This is the exact spot in Nottingham where their 19-year-old son, Barnaby Webber, lost his life.
I just think it's so cruel and so harsh.
It's really scary. We're terrified.
In this community, I'm told that everybody knows someone affected by COVID.
Hopefully this will be the last wave.
Sky News gets the full story first. Change seems tantalisingly close in this corner of the UK. Wales was the first to introduce the plastic bag charge. It's legal to let go. Set the speed and take the hands off. It's almost driverless, but not quite. Hans is a highly trained police dog. The force is incredible. It's really frightening, actually. This is my patch, my specialism. It's also my home.
The best thing about being a Sky News journalist?
I'm going to take you behind the scenes here for Election Night Live. They have gone up and up.
Being a Sky News journalist.
Ed Conway, Sky News, is anyone going to talk to us? Mortgage rates did go up very sharply during your time in office. Here it is.
First off, just the scale of what we're looking at.
Our data shows it's been happening. Question is, why it hasn't been stopped.
What's the best thing about being a Sky News journalist?
Who's funnier?
Being a Sky News journalist.
A special edition of The World with me, Yalda Hakim.
Pakistan has the right to respond.
You're like, what?
Historic day here today.
Congratulations, this is a huge moment.
But what happens now?
The best thing about being a Sky News journalist?
They call him the king of the jungle.
Being a Sky News journalist.
Yusra Al-Baghir has this report.
And this is what's left of it.
As a woman of colour, how did the Harris campaign speak to you?
People risk their lives to speak to us for this report.
Mr. Zuma, Sky News.
We're trying to see as much as we can. Welcome back. You are watching the press preview. Still with me, the Deputy Editor of Conservative Home, Henry Hill, and the New Statesman's Associate Political Editor, Rachel Cunliffe. Let's start off this section by taking a look at the FT and the efforts to de-escalate tensions between the US and Iran. Intense diplomatic efforts to dissuade Donald Trump from striking Iran, including communication between the Islamic Republic and the US administration, have de-escalated tensions in the Gulf. This is according to 3 people close to Arab governments. Is that your reading of what's happened in recent days, Henry?
I'm not going to dare to dispute the people close to Arab governments because they're probably closer than I am. But yeah, essentially, do you remember during the height of the war on terror when whether or not the US would hit Iran was the massive totemic foreign policy, like red line? So this is about whether or not Donald Trump will bomb Iran again, given that he already did it. And the answer seems to be not at the moment. The US does make it clear that they are not taking military options off the table. This is in the wake of the uprising against the government, which has been put down, as far as we can see, with extreme brutality. But mediators between the regime and the United States, which mostly consist of the United States Arab allies in the region, appear to have managed to facilitate a dialogue. So.
Well, Donald Trump has definitely climbed down, hasn't he, in saying that he's been promised that the executions that were threatened haven't taken place and won't be taking place.
He has climbed down. I think this might be one of those areas, though, where Donald Trump's unpredictability actually has been a negotiating strength, because I don't think anyone was in any doubt at the start of the week or last week that he might bomb Iran, he could bomb Iran, he was thinking about it. We've seen with the foreign policy decisions that he's made that taking decisions, firstly he sort of announces that he's thinking about, in all caps locks, on his Truth social platform. Sometimes he does them, sometimes he doesn't, in a way that with previous American presidents you could be pretty certain that they wouldn't, or if they did, there would be a very clear de-escalation pathway. So I think, yes, Donald Trump has de-escalated, but I also think that the threat was real, and that has had an impact on how Arab governments have reacted to it.
So in this instance, his unpredictability has actually worked.
That is what I seem to be saying, and I feel quite uneasy saying it, but yes.
That is what you've said. To the Times, and this story regarding the numbers of abortions, cost of a big family drives abortions to record high numbers. Henry?
Yeah, this is an interesting one because there is nothing in the article that really supports that headline.
Oh.
The first 6... It's either bad science journalism or sort of mission journalism, because the first 6 or 7 paragraphs are about the cost of living, but there's no research linked to this, there's no data, there's a couple of just statements, one of which is from an abortion provider. And then around paragraph 7, we get 72% of abortions in 2023 were carried out by taking pills at home, and pills by post have, in the last couple of years, been, as a hangover from COVID, completely permitted, and they were originally introduced as an emergency measure. And that seems much more likely to be the thing if you're looking for one big variable which might have led to a huge increase in abortions, or a substantial increase in abortions. It would be a major change to the legal regulation governing abortion medication. But perhaps because legalising pills by post leads to a surge in abortions is quite an American headline, we end up with this, I think, based on the evidence of the article, specious connection to the cost of living, which is not substantiated in the piece.
Yeah, I agree with Henry that we've got correlation here, but we don't have causation, and the permission of abortion pills is obviously going to be a factor. There's one stat in the third paragraph there that I think is worth drawing out, which is that 54% of women who terminated pregnancies were already mothers, according to the survey. And I don't think that supports the headline or doesn't support the headline, but I think it's worth considering in the context of this debate that people often have an idea in their head of who it is who is getting a termination and why kind of teenage pregnancies, careless young women, and very often it is people who already have children and are thinking about the best interests of those children who already exist when they make that decision that may well be based on finances.
Certainly some more sort of digging needs to be done with that particular headline and that story. This story in the Telegraph, your country needs you. Over 60s are warned.
Yeah. So one of the big challenges that governments around the world are actually having, Western governments, is the fact that they keep talking, and the generals especially keep talking about how the world is really dangerous and we need to get ready for it. And the voters don't really want to spend any money or do any fighting. And so what they're doing here is essentially we have a military-ready reserve, which is essentially people who are ex-territorial army, and you can get put on a list, which is in the case of an emergency, you can be called up. And this has, understandably, an age cut-off point, which is the age of retirement, because it's usually quite physical work that you get called up to do as a military reservist. But in order to try and get more manpower, that is being lifted. And I think that it is a truly remarkable position to be in, where the government, instead of having any kind of programme aimed at getting young people into these positions, and Rishi Sunak was ridiculed for his national service policy, probably rightly, given the way he designed it, but nonetheless, that was a more logical thing than the fact that we're flailing around and making 65-year-olds do it.
Rachel, we've got about 10 seconds. It does seem quite extraordinary.
But it's got to be everyone, right? Like, if we're all in it together, you can't just say to current 18-year-olds who face significantly greater economic challenges than, say, past generations, their parents and grandparents, and go, oh, yeah, you're going to have to fight for your country. But this generation that didn't fight for their country, you're not. Like, if we're serious about defence and security, it's got to be an all-country effort, all ages. Sign them all up, I say.
But if they're too old, they're just not capable, surely.
I think that's very ageist of you.
But it's the truth. An 18-year-old fighting compared to an 80-year-old fighting, there's a huge difference.
We're talking about 65-year-olds here. I don't know. We're going to get letters. We're going to get letters.
I know. Rachel Henry, thank you very much for the moment. Let's take a look at the weather.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors Sky News Weather.
Well, the next few days will bring showers, some heavy, but there'll be some fine weather around too. Expect a scattering of showers at first tomorrow, but many northern and eastern parts look dry. There'll be a patchy frost with icy stretches and some fog. Western parts will see further showers through the morning with hail and thunder possible, but a few will run across southern Scotland and southern England. Snow is likely on northern hills. Elsewhere, it'll be mainly dry with sunny spells once any early fog has lifted.
All Clear Travel Insurance proudly sponsors Sky News Weather.
The best thing about being a Sky News journalist? I'm going to take you behind the scenes here for Election Night Live. They have gone up and up. Being a Sky News journalist. Ed Conway, Sky News, is anyone going to talk to us? Mortgage rates did go up very sharply during your time in office. Here it is. First off, just the scale of what we're looking at. Our data shows it's been happening. Question is, why it hasn't been stopped.
What's the best thing about being a Sky News presenter?
We've done the work and the reading, so you don't have to.
Being a Sky News presenter.
Hello and welcome, Westminster, the heart of British politics.
I'm so sorry about what happened to you. So what on earth is going on?
It's not true.
Can I tell you what I think?
It's really unusual.
Mornings with Ridge and Frost. Let's crack on. Let's get started.